Hello, my name is Jonathan Chambers, and today I'm going to discuss the case study of Terrence Howard negotiates for Iron Man 2. After the mega success of Iron Man, which grossed $585 million, Marvel was faced with the predicament of bringing back the original cast for Iron Man 2. Filled with the star-studded cast of accomplished actors, a conflict arose with contract negotiations. All right. Terrence Howard requested his pay reflect his market value. He requested to be priced with the A-listers. He wanted A-lister money and return options because of his recent accomplishments in the industry. Marvel, on the other hand, requested their A-listers to sacrifice to fit it within the budget of the film. They also requested positive attitudes and they wanted team players from their talent. Now, it was implied Mr. Terrence Howard wanted more screen time and character development. He saw himself as a larger role in Iron Man. Marvel viewed Terrence Howard's character as a supporting actor. They implied they wanted a reduced role. So Marvel also implied they wanted, they needed more team players, and they wanted the talent to work together to see the big picture, and they needed everyone to do this at a reduced rate so they could complete the project. Marvel felt everyone would sacrifice to be in the Marvel universe. Now, along the way in the negotiation, dirty tricks were used, according to Mr. Howard. After having an option for $8 million to do a sequel, Marvel offered just an eighth of the original amount, which soured him. I believe Terrence Howard did not separate the people from the problem, because as everything wrapped up, he began to complain publicly about his money not being up to par. He had verbal attacks against the main characters in the media when it came down to negotiations. Afterwards, Mr. Howard also let his negative emotions flare up and sour him from an opportunity. Okay, what went well during negotiations was just a second. What went well, besides for Mr. Howard, actually was not much. The original contract, was he signed for $4.5 million. That was a nice agreement. What went well for him was what he stood by his core values and principles, and he used the initial role for exposure to the world stage. What went wrong during negotiation was Terrence Howard did not have a clear BATNA. So by not having a clear BATNA, he didn't have much to stand on, because he needed an alternative to what the Marvel Studios were offering. Marvel offered a reduced rate, and they wanted him to take a pay cut. And instead of addressing the issue, Terrence Howard actually just blew them off. So he did not respond. He balked at their deal. So it was a breakdown of communication, and that caused a major problem and a major rift in negotiations. So that went wrong, and and from there he also his negative emotions flare up kicked in, and that made him miss out on an opportunity, a major opportunity. Okay, so also Another thing that went wrong was Mr. Howard misunderstood the original contract. So, and the relationship between the two parties, there was never a relationship that was developed. It was just solely based on money. So, the agreement that was reached was an option to make $8 million for a sequel, according to Mr. Howard, but Marvel did not exercise that option, and so it was an opportunity that was missed. So it was like no agreement, it was just like walk. Um, they didn't exercise the option, so they walked away from the deal, and they signed off for another actor to play that role. I believe the relationship between the two parties were severed, and they are severed. I do not foresee any window to renegotiate or think the parties will reconcile their differences. I think the attitudes played an important role in the outcome, and Mr. Howard made a decision to blow Marvel off, and that actually blew the Marvel Iron Man deal. So, thank you. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to my negotiation, which covered Terrence Howard negotiates Iron Man 2. Thank you. Have a good night.